Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. We got a double header today. We got our good friends in from PlusBox and ProduceGood. Joining us is Wes Burt, founder and executive director of PlusBox. How you doing, Wes?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in and joined by your friend and colleague and everything in between, Nita Kurmins Gilson. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Very good. Co-founder and co-executive director for ProduceGood, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, coming up on our first anniversary as we're being co-host. Yep, very good. Can't wait for that. It'll be in September. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary in Liberty Station this year. Kristen, get us started.
Let's do it. So I'd love to hear from both of you, just the missions of the organization. Let's just start there.
Sorry, Wes.
All right, sweet. So PlusBox is on a mission to deliver healthy food and fresh ideas to those who need it most. And ultimately what that looks like for us is addressing food security in a way that is nutrition-centric, trying to make sure that food insecure kids and families in San Diego County have access to fresh, healthy food, the types of foods that are actually going to fuel student achievement, improve health and wellness, things like that.
Yeah, I have a million other questions, but need to tell us about your organization.
So ProduceGood is a gleaning nonprofit. Our mission is to reduce food waste and hunger while building community.
Amazing.
So reducing food waste, how does one do that?
Well, one orange at a time. We work with many, many different partners to have that happen.
Yeah.
We are sourcing excess fruits and vegetables all over the county through our various programs. And we're getting those things that would otherwise go to waste. For example, we work at the farmers market, 2 farmers markets, and at the end of their Sunday market, they will not have another market for 4 days. We will collect what those farmers and vendors cannot sell, which is really beautiful stuff, but it's not going to make it 4 more days.
Yeah.
We'll take that immediately to one of our 90 partner agencies and get that into the hands of people who need it. And it's, absolutely, like a one-stop shop. We don't hold anything. We're just going from the source to the need.
Yeah. So Wes, you were gesticulating to yourself that you're one of the partners. So how do you
one of our favorite partners
together?
Yeah, so we essentially distribute like CSA style produce boxes through community partners, primarily schools during the school year. And we do that on a weekly basis, right? So we think the consistency of those kids and families having access to that kind of healthy food is the way we're going to drive the outcomes we want to drive. So we need a constant sort of in and out of fresh produce. And so we get that through a few different sources, but one of the big sources is ProduceGood. So when they go to those farmers markets or other events and sort of recover that fresh food that, the farmers can't sell or the stores decide they don't want to sell or whatever it is, that comes to us. And then it goes and gets in the hands of one of the families we support within the next couple of days. So we're trying to turn that stuff around super quick and make sure that fresh food stays fresh, but ends up, in the hands of someone who needs it versus in the landfill.
I love this. I love both of these missions. I constantly talk about my son, Deck, who is 5 years old. And he's going to a school where they aim to be a zero waste school. I'm curious about the food issue as well, but also healthy eating is like at the center of what they do also. So both of these, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm curious, and I want to hear from both of you. I'll start with you, Wes. What's the origin story? Why did you decide, and particularly 2020, was it something that was brewing before the pandemic, obviously, because it seems like you started right after, but tell me your origin story.
Yeah, so we started it in the middle of the pandemic. And you may recall back then, food insecurity was sort of top of mind. It was on the news a lot. It was spiking. I was actually working in the technology space at the time, but got together with my dad actually and a friend of ours who was a caterer. It didn't have anything to cater. So we came up with this idea where, to do something more productive in a fairly unproductive time, we reached out to a few schools. And since I had worked, I was actually in the education technology space. So I was working with schools already, knew who to contact, like how to make it work. And my catering friend knew how to source produce and, figure out that piece of it. So we put those two things together and started handing out these, produce boxes while schools were doing the sort of drive-through lunch distribution. School was closed, but they were still doing lunch distributions for the kids who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And we thought, well, that doesn't seem like enough. So what if we show up on the same day at the same time and provide enough food for the whole family? And so we had a couple schools take us up on it. And at the end of 2020, it seemed like we had something that needed to exist beyond the pandemic. And so I left the tech space. We incorporated Plusbox, got our 501c3, and here we are.
Very cool. Yeah, I want to hear kind of how the models maybe shifted since the pandemic.
Yeah.
But Nita, maybe you can talk about, because you're a co-founder of your organization, right? So why did you decide to start it?
Well, I actually was running a small grassroots project before this, before I met my co-founder partner, Alex White. And we became a 501c3 in 2014. But the idea of food waste and hunger was long before that, at least for me. But when we did incorporate, it really was starting to trend. People really were understanding about food waste because before that, people were it just wasn't that clear. But, you guys probably know this, but 40% of all food is wasted that's produced in the US. And 1 in 4 San Diegans is food insecure.
Yeah.
So, those are terrible statistics to have together. So that's kind of where we go from here, because what we do is we're basically trying to solve both those problems at the same time. We're getting all this excess. And again, we have other programs I didn't mention, but that's what we're doing is we're getting it from places that would otherwise, it would be going into the landfill and providing nutritious, amazing stuff for people who especially need it and may not have access to it.
Yeah, I want to chat about that. We're talking to Wes Burt, founder and executive director of Plusbox, joined by his colleague Nita Kurmins Gilson, co-founder and co-executive director of ProduceGood. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast now in our 18th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just raising the bar for people living in San Diego County, and joined by my co-host Kristen Fogel, executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Listen, unless you are living in the space station Mir or in some Milky Way solar system, childhood obesity is at epidemic proportions, to say the least. I'll start with you on this, Wes, and then go over to you, Anita. Having worked with the schools in that aspect, you must have seen a lot of that.
Yeah, I think, when we started Plusbox, the focus has always been on fresh food. But I think in terms of like how we've evolved, there's 3 sort of distinct but interrelated challenges that Plusbox tries to address. One is just basic food insecurity, right? Like Nita mentioned, 1 in 4 San Diegans it's food insecure. Yeah. The other issue, though, in terms of like the chronic illnesses, diabetes, things like that, is like food insecure people typically, conventional food support programming that was created, decades and decades ago is really more focused on like acute hunger relief. It's about like volume and calories and things like that. And up to 70% of it is provided in the form of processed or ultra processed foods, which we know is like not good for our bodies and stuff. And so it's really hard for these families to get access to the types of foods that ProduceGood is rescuing and that we're trying to distribute. And so we are laser focused on making sure that we're providing access to fresh fruits and vegetables, that these families are getting access to the types of foods that aren't just going to address household food security, but like are going to help the kids do better in school, are going to help those families feel healthier and set them up to be successful long-term. And then, the other challenge is the food system. And this is where our partnership with ProduceGood comes in, is all that food is wasted. And not to mention, you think about, we live in San Diego County, which from an agricultural perspective is like super abundant. So there's all these independent and local farmers that are doing all this amazing work. And what we're trying to do is make sure that, families who don't typically have access to that type of food have access to that type of food.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about that. We come back from break. We're going to continue that conversation with Wes Burt, founder and executive director of PlusBox, and joined by his colleague Nita Kurmins Gilson, co-founder and co-executive director of ProduceGood. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things in San Diego County. Joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. So pleased to have in the studio with us today, PlusBox Executive Director and founder is with us, Wes Burt, joined by his colleague, Nita Kurmins Gilson. She's the co-founder and co-executive director of ProduceGood. Kristen.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this statistic here on one of your sheets. About 70% of conventional food assistance is provided in the form of processed or ultra-processed foods. I think it's so crazy. And then when you become a parent, you don't realize how much crap is targeted to your kids, and like how few really healthy, grab and go sort of snacks there are. So I think that's so crazy. Is it getting better in the schools, or are you our only hope, Wes? I mean, or a little bit of both?
I suppose it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's much more focus on like food issues, food justice, access to healthy food. Like Nita mentioned, I mean, since they've been doing this work, the awareness of food waste and things like that has grown. So there's a lot of programs around that try to help schools sort of, make sure the food they provide is healthier. But at the same time, I mean, you have to remember that, we sort of exist in this industrialized food system that moves high volumes around the country, and like that's how it operates, and it's shelf stable and it's cheaper and it's easier to do. And that, it just kind of is what it is. And so where I think we come in is sort of to say like, well, it doesn't have to be like that. And so if we can create a model where, we're working together to make sure we're not only reducing that food waste, but we're making sure that, kids and families who are already experiencing food insecure are able to access the right types of food, then I think that's ultimately what, I mean, I don't want to speak for Nita, but that's ultimately what we're trying to do.
You did a great job there, Wes.
Yeah. I want to hear from both of you on this, just a little bit about your reach, so where are you located, about how many folks are you serving, some of that, where are you in the county, all of that?
Well, Alex, my partner, is really the actual stats and number person, so please.
I appreciate that, yeah.
And she's in Montana right now, so I don't know if she's listening, so she might not be able to double check me, but I do know some stats for sure. I mean, so our ProduceGood is located in Encinitas, but we travel all over the county. We work with over 90 partner feeding agencies. We have about 4,000 volunteers in our database,
Great.
about 1,000 active a year.
That's wonderful, though.
Yeah, and then we also work with about 800 or 900 farmers and growers all over the county. So our network is really big, and we're working every day, more than once a day. We have about 900 events scheduled this year.
Wow.
So it's a lot. We're everywhere all the time. We're moving. We're the movers. We're taking it from the source to the need.
Okay.
That's really our strong suit. And I would say, just to add to what Wes is saying, is that the industrialized food model, we know, is not perfect. It's not
It's
even
terrible.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us have stronger words about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me started.
Yeah.
But I would say that, the idea of doing this decentralized model, this community-based model, which is what we're doing, is really where we're getting to the actual, bottom of it, so to speak. It's like when you have a model where, for example, at the food bank, it's just large quantities. People are expected to come there, even if they may or may not be able to get there and get what they need. A lot of waste is already happening there. So for our model, where we're immediately getting it from the source, and then we are taking it to a partner agency, and they are focused exactly on knowing where it's going. It's sort of that micro last step that ensures that people are actually eating it. And this is really, really nutritious and needed, and usually expensive in the store stuff. So it's very, very, very focused. It's very.
So when you talk about the 900 events, is that like those individual outreaches to those
we
smaller
call it
communities?
Event. So each event for us it has 3 components. One is the source, where are we getting it? Who is it coming from? The other is sort of the power, the volunteers, who's going to be helping us, and then where is it going? So, and we do, like I said, about 900 of those a year. Some of those are small, some are large. We work at the food, as I said, the farmers markets. We also have a very large backyard program. All the citrus that you're driving around seeing.
Yeah.
We had all those growers. We work with about 800 private growers who are donating their citrus. And then we also are working now with grocery stores to do their, we call it grocery cleaning. We're getting that what they can't sell. And that has to do with some other things which we probably can't cover about 1383, SB 1383. But it is a law that is causing a lot more action happening with the donation section of the fresh food component.
So I was going to ask you that question. What's the challenge on that Senate bill?
Well, there's several challenges. One of them is the state just put this law down, this mandate, and said, okay, everybody, this is what we want. We want to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. Go ahead, go do it. And all the cities have no funding. They have no support. They just know that they have to follow this law. So
Been subject to a few of those city laws myself. Hey, just go do it. Just
But
make
by the way,
sure.
you have no resources, so we'll watch you go broke.
I've been there. Yeah.
good luck. So that's number one part. That's really a challenge. But the number 2 part is, as they are going through and they're trying to identify these large generators, these different tiers, grocery stores, hotels, institutions, they have a plan for this. And all of those people are now required to donate, they have to donate rather than put to the landfill, right? But to donate, part of the mandate is that they must at least 20% of that should be feeding people. They're not really doing that right now. They're just getting it, and they're taking it and getting it composted. They're getting it somewhere where it's much easier, much faster to do. And so that's one of our issues. And then the second issue is a little bit different, but it is the same idea where, let's say these large grocery stores now have all of this stuff they're going to donate. It's not all good. They just need to push it out of their realm. And then we are tasked with going through that and making sure we get what's left. But there's this idea of donation dumping, which is another component that's happening here.
Well, it's very similar to the people that want to donate a computer, like the Commodore, which went out of business 8,000 years ago. And now the person gets it and says, "And can you do something with it?" Yeah, I can take it to a landfill, because that's what I'm going to do. In this,
Exactly.
maybe that's a bad analogy. I don't know.
But it's pretty appropriate, because it is kind of like, okay, yeah, I have this now. I'm just pushing it over here, but it's no good.
Right.
Well, and I think the other thing, like from our perspective, and the reason that ProduceGood and PlusBox get along so well is we have this shared understanding that recovery without the redistribution component is fairly pointless.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can recover food all day long.
Right.
If you don't have anywhere to put it, like productive, in the homes of food insecure people, like what's the point?
Right.
But unfortunately, like the way the law was written is like that it's just really focused on that recovery piece. It's like just make sure we don't put it in the landfill. So we've been trying to communicate to different municipalities, stakeholder groups, like, look, the way to do this is actually to put these things together in sort of a unified model that says like recovery, redistribution, everybody wins. But you'd be surprised at
I'm not surprised.
Like people are like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
We're chatting with Wes Burt. He is the founder and exec director of PlusBox, joined by his colleague Nita Kurmins Gilson, co-founder and co-executive director of ProduceGood. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listen to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast on our 18th year. Brought to you by the very cool people at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in San Diego County, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Nita, talk about this cool thing called Table of Hope and Justice. What's that all about?
Oh, did you watch the video?
I did not watch the video. I could lie and say I did.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm glad that you're being honest.
Yeah.
Thank you. But, so that particular, that was COVID. So the story was really, it's shown a light on a lot of things to us, and COVID did change our model for sure, because before COVID, ProduceGood, we were working very, very closely with the food bank. So for example, if we're going to go to a big orchard in Rancho Santa Fe, they would come and bring these big boxes that they do. We would get the volunteers, we would fill it with fruit, they would take it away. And we were using them as our transportation piece. When everything shut down during COVID and the supply chain broke, we were on our own. And we decided, wow, we think we can do this on our own, and probably better off doing it on our own. And to the same point that we are discussing here, where it's just much more decentralized, community-based, we now found that we go to the places where the people are. We're taking it to where those who wouldn't have access would have it. So the Tables of Hope and Justice was started by Christian Ramirez, who just basically put a table out in front of his house in Sherman Heights, picked some fruit in his backyard, and just started it. It was just like, here we go.
That's how those things start.
That's how that mutual aid started. It was pretty incredible. And he found out about us. We said, hey, do you want some fruit? He's like, sure. He didn't believe that. He couldn't believe what was happening, because we were bringing in every week hundreds of pounds. And it was an overwhelming and fantastic sort of illustration of how what can be done. So he did a whole bunch more stuff. He did provide for his community, and they had all kinds of other food. But that particular story that I said, is one of our highlights, was really truly showed us that, we're bridging all kinds of communities in San Diego County in a way that would never have happened actually without COVID, to be honest. We wouldn't have done what we did. And now it's our most strongest point.
To have 900 of these events, whether it's as small as dropping off some food at Christian's little table in front of his house, to doing the bigger things, what type of a volunteer force do you have?
Well, we like to give the impressive number of 4,000, because that is what is in our database. But we do have legitimately every year approximately 1,200 to 1,500 active volunteers a year. So these people, they like it. Something is very resonating with them. And, so we that's how we do it. We would never be able to do this without our volunteers.
Well, when you think about it, delivering healthy, fresh,
also
good
picking
food, right, to people that actually need it. I mean, can you find anything better than that? Kristen?
Yeah, I want to go back to, I think you need to definitely address this, but Wes, I want to go back to kind of, your outreach and imprint in the community. Where are you at? You don't have to tell me to the letter how many people you're serving, but, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're based in Carlsbad, and right now we focus primarily in North County communities. So during the school year, we work with about a dozen different schools in Oceanside, Vista, Carlsbad. We're starting to dip into San Marcos a little bit. And then we have sort of what I'll call a legacy partner in Encinitas from the COVID era, which is a venture church in Encinitas, started a food distribution weekly open to the public that we started supporting and still do. So that's where we are. During last school year, we supported about 730 households every week during the school year. And so all the boxes we distribute have around 8 to 10 varieties of produce, a ton of it provided by ProduceGood, and they've averaged about 14 pounds. And so what we're trying to do is provide enough food in those boxes each week to theoretically create about 10 different meals, at least according to USDA calculations, which, who knows? But but that's the idea. And then what we're trying to do now is, earlier this year we surpassed 1 million pounds of produce distributed in our 3+ years of existence.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Pretty exciting. And so we've essentially decided that the model that we've created, this sort of community-based, fresh food, easy access, driving better health and wellness outcomes, is something that we can replicate. And so what we're trying to do is take that model that we built in Carlsbad and, sort of copy and paste it somewhere else. And so right now we're looking to move into the Escondido area and support communities over in that region, and then think about moving forward how we can continue to do that, throughout San Diego County and even beyond. If I'm honest.
You guys, you brought up something like 25% of the people that live in San Diego County of 3.4 million, whatever the numbers these days, are food insecure, and it just sort of baffles people that how's that possible, because it's real, it's right there. It's like Kristen and I talk about this all the time. We bring in youth groups in here, and the amount of kids who have never been to the beach, who have never been to the mountains, who have never been, it just shocks people. Well, this food insecurity is not shocking. I'll start with you on this, Nita, and then you could fill into what can our listeners do to support what you're doing at ProduceGood?
Well, you can, if you have fruit trees, we have a huge list of growers. And as you guys know, if you live in San Diego, either you have a fruit tree or someone with a fruit tree. Everywhere, all the time, massive abundance, almost all year round. You can also volunteer and join our fun and happy crew of people who love to do all that. And we also, of course, love donations of the green kind.
Yes, not the green kind.
Not trees. I think she's talking
the
about
other
money.
kind. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was trying to be all like subtle.
Yeah, money. So let me get back to that before we turn it over to Wes on this. So we got some listeners going, I got a whole bunch of fruit trees over here. Do you come to their house?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. So that all you need to do is pick this healthy
Also,
stuff.
do you have to be in North County?
No, but one thing I will say this, I do have a little bit of a caveat. We have quite a waiting list, but you have to sign up on our website as a grower. And once you get in there, you're kind of put in the queue. So it's not like right away, like people think,
yeah, tomorrow.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. So there is a little bit.
Is there any type of fruit that you
don't pick? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We mostly do citrus because it's so wonderful, but things that are softer, a lot of people have like guavas and loquats.
Right.
Those are not going to work. They go bad too quickly. So
Gotcha.
we can't. But we don't have that many soft fruits here. I mean, in abundance. Some people do.
Okay, good. Wes, what can we do to support you?
Yeah, similar. I mean, we put on 4 or 5 volunteer events every week. They're in our warehouse, and essentially what we're doing is sorting produce to make sure that what we're putting out there is still the good stuff, and then preparing and packing the CSA style boxes that we deliver each week. It's a pretty chill event. We get about 6 or 8 volunteers into the warehouse for a couple hours a few times a week. People generally have a good time doing it. So that's on our website. You can check that out. And then just funding. I mean, good old nonprofiting. So
money doesn't grow on trees. What's the website, Wes?
It's www.plus-box.org. And then, if I may, I'm going to plug. We're having an event, fundraising event, Sunday, September the 15th. In Carlsbad. You can buy tickets to that on our website also.
Very, very good. And what's yours, Nita?
It's producegood.org.
Very good. Well, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Plan on being invited back. What I'd love to do is see if Christian Ramirez is available to join you next time, if that works for you. Or any family that has benefited from what you've done as well. Wes, this is just too good to not continue the conversation. We've been chatting with Wes Burt, founder and executive director of PlusBox, joined by his colleague Nita Kurmins Gilson, co-founder and co-executive director of ProduceGood. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by very, very cool folks at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in San Diego County. As always, co-host Kristen Fogel, appreciate you, to say the least, and we hope you all enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.